Most Americans want a sense of vision from their leadership, but they also want certainty that hard work will get them there. Public trust is fundamental in the presidency. Presidency is serious business. Presidential campaigns are the time to discuss big ideas. I believe I'm the best qualified to serve as president.
In the long history of the Republic, no president has been better prepared. One man has the wisdom to chart America's path to prosperity, the integrity to restore respect to the White House, and the faith to believe that the best days for our country still lie ahead. His name is Richard Lugar. Dick Lugar's path has been forged from a lifetime of achievement and experience, and a fundamental vision of America's greatness. This he has pursued with a quiet confidence, a steady strength, and the courage of his convictions. The journey began when, as an Eagle Scout, he pledged, "On my honor, I will do my duty for God and my country." Dick Lugar is a man who takes solemn oaths seriously, who keeps his word. Always a serious student, he graduated high school first in his class, a straight A honor student. At Denison University, he was elected co-president of the student body, sharing the office with Charlene Smeltzer. It was a partnership that would lead to a marriage now in its 39th year. Dick Lugar's perfect academic record helped him earn a Rhodes Scholarship to Oxford University in England. He was again elected class president, and true to his Indiana roots, earned a letter for basketball.
When I was a Rhodes Scholar at Oxford University, I heard others discussing the fact that military service ought not to be for them, that they were very able people, and it would be a tragedy if they were to lose their lives or even lose their time in military service. I became more and more disturbed by those conversations. I felt they were inappropriate for people to whom much has been given, and they really impelled my decision not even to wait until I came back to the United States, but to go to the American Embassy while I was there and to volunteer for the United States Navy.
He was selected to be an intelligence briefer for the Chief of Naval Operations. Each morning, he would read the nation's most sensitive intelligence information, then brief members of President Eisenhower's administration. He completed his tour of duty at the center of power, dealing with world crises. Now he faced another crisis. The death of his father jeopardized his family's farm and machinery business. He returned home to take over a farm that had been in the family since the 1930s, to operate the machinery business started by his grandfather, and to raise a family.
And we found the little blue house, which is on the southwest corner of the farm. We looked through the floorboards into the basement, and we saw the walls in disarray. It was empty. But we made a house, so we put the floorboards in, we painted the interior, got the furnace running, and we lived there very happily.
Operating the machinery business with his brother taught him firsthand about small business.
It was my role in 1961 to pass out the paychecks, and I did that every week because we had a weekly payroll, and it was by hand, and I gave the check to each employee, which meant I heard a lot about those employees and their families. The fact is, there aren't streams of accountants and attorneys and managers. You do it yourself or it doesn't happen.
His life in public service began with education when his son entered the first grade.
People came to me on the west side of Indianapolis, asked me to run for the school board in 1963. And Char and I talked a lot about this, our obligation. And conscience made me do it.
4 years later, he was called again to even greater responsibility. At the age of 35, he ran for mayor of Indianapolis, beating a highly favored former mayor in the Republican primary and the incumbent mayor in the November election. Richard Lugar was caricatured as the Boy Scout mayor, and entering the toughest times America's cities had ever seen, the old-line politicians bet he'd be eaten alive. They couldn't have been more wrong.
I do remember Martin Luther King was assassinated on Dick's birthday, which is April the 4th. Indianapolis did not blow up, and it was not to say that that it wasn't a very difficult time for everybody. But as I said, Dick was always there, always visible, never worried about his own safety, just wanted to reassure people that everything was being done, that we cared, and that there were going to be brighter days ahead.
In 2 terms as mayor of a major American city, Richard Lugar balanced 8 budgets and cut property taxes 5 times. He led the efforts to revitalize the city's center, assuring growth and saving the taxpayers' money by merging municipal and county governments into a single unit called Unigov.
That was an experiment that said that a city can remain whole, that it can have a vital center as well as vital neighborhoods and suburbs, as opposed to being a hollowed out shell like so many cities were and have become. So these were radical in a conservative mode. The real issue in any campaign is what are the prerequisites for somebody to risk a single dollar to create a job or to bring about a new product, new service, a new building. We have to have policies that encourage people to take risks and to invest money. Otherwise, there will be no jobs. They don't happen automatically.
In 1976, Dick Lugar took his experience as a naval officer, school board member, mayor, farmer, business owner, lay minister in the Methodist Church, husband and father to the United States Senate, where he serves today as chairman of the Agriculture Committee.
Well, my first choice was the Agriculture Committee in the Senate. I made that pledge in the 76 campaign, and Bob Dole helped me fulfill it. And I got the very last seat on the Republican side on the Ag Committee, but that was my first assignment.
His views on agriculture policy stem from personal experience, going back to when he and his brother worked the farm for 10 cents an hour. When they had saved $15, their father offered to sell them 1 acre of winter wheat.
So we put our whole fortune in this, and we were sitting there going to church one Sunday, and Dad said, "I've got bad news. The flood took off the wheat field, and it's all gone." And so we thought that Dad meant that he had had some bad luck, but he was going to give us our $15 back, but we were wrong. We lost the whole thing, and he said, "That's the risk you take if you're a farmer."
Lugar continues to this day to manage the family farm.
This is a productive farm, subject to the same regulations every farm in America. There's nobody else to fill out the forms with me, and I deal with the ASCS, with the soil conservation people, with the county agents, with everybody involved in agriculture. When we debate a farm bill, there are not more than 1 or 2 of us have ever been close to a farm and really say this is what happens to farmers in America.
Throughout the 8 years of Ronald Reagan's presidency, Dick Lugar ranked as the president's #1 supporter in the Senate. As chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Lugar helped President Reagan advance the cause of freedom around the world. It earned Lugar the reputation as the Republicans' foremost authority on America's role in the world.
Foreign relations is an important issue, first of all, because without our country being secure, none of us are going to have any stability in our lives within this country. We take that for granted every day. Now, in terms of making a living, after we are stable, we have to have those markets, because if we just trade with ourselves in this country, we'll have 0 growth or a minus every year. As far as the eye can see, there'll be no growth.
And following the collapse of the Soviet Union, Lugar was able to see the danger posed by thousands of nuclear weapons still aimed at the United States. In an extraordinary act of leadership, accomplished with little support from the White House, Dick Lugar worked with Senator Sam Nunn to develop the mechanism to collect and disarm over 35,000 nuclear warheads.
Always seemed to me very important that you needed to do your duty. Now, that is a different style of leadership than one that tries to perceive the trends in polls, that tries to find the public pulse at each point, tries to barely stay ahead of the crowd.
In the race for the presidency, Dick Lugar is once again ahead of the crowd with a bold plan for American prosperity.
And the answer is we have to change the system of taxation in our country. Taxation is now on income and saving and investment and ultimately on hopes and dreams. Therefore, I've proposed that we end taxes on income. We move it over to taxes on spending. It just seems to me fundamental that the paycheck that you bring home is money that is yours, and knowing that none of it can be taxed unless you spend it.
But finally, it is not his experience or vision that make Richard Lugar everything a president should be. It's what's inside the man.
The role of a president is to speak to the very best aspirations of people. And they are to love one another, starting with marriage and starting in relationships with children and grandchildren, and then the export of that love to a wider circle and a sense of community. Those are the building blocks upon which our society depends, and the success of any city or town, as well as the fundamental success of our nation.
A man of grace, a genuine heavyweight. Everything the American people say they want in a leader. This is what others are saying about Richard Lugar. But in the race for president, it will be Iowa Republicans who cast the first votes. Iowa Republicans who can lead the nation by choosing Dick Lugar, the one candidate who is everything a president should be.